I've been invited to attend the biggest Warhammer tournament in Utah. However, there's just one problem. I run a gaming tavern, and we focus mostly on RPGs like D&D. And that's a problem because I've always been fascinated by Warhammer and wargaming. It's always been a hobby and a community I've always wanted to be in, but I've never had the opportunity until now. So I wanted to use this video as an analysis. Why is wargaming so interesting to someone who's so entrenched in the RPG scene? I'm not the only D&D lover who has felt this pull. In fact, Matt Mercer has recently taken the dive to get into wargaming, and it's something he admits that he has been fighting for a long time.
But I love the lore. And then Jasmine was like, well, you know, they have a skirmish mode. And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, yeah, there's an affordable mode that's smaller number of models for an army, and you can throw together for $100 or so, and it plays quick in just a few hours. And I was like, shit. All right. So
the purpose of this video is to analyze the differences as well as the common ground that these hobbies share. Because there's some really interesting aspects that both of these hobbies have, and there's some key differences. For example, to Warhammer as well as wargaming is the competitive nature of the event. And that's not really featured in RPGs. Another aspect is the hobby aspect, the idea of painting and creating miniatures and terrain. And that is definitely shared with both hobbies. Another aspect is the lore. Warhammer specifically has its own IP and its own lore that is very different from anything that Wizards of the Coast has created. And then for wargaming, there's just something unique, something I can't really put my finger on. Now, the competitive nature of wargaming is probably the side I'm least familiar with. As someone who loves RPGs, that is a community-focused game. You're working with the other players to tell a story together. There's no real winner or loser. Everyone wins or everyone loses. But that's not the case for wargaming. With wargaming, there is specifically a winner or a loser. You are trying to beat your opponent. And I guess that's why competitive play has always fascinated me. It's something that I've never been good at. I never am a good competitive player because the ability to make tactical decisions, I struggle just talking. Like, I am not a genius when it comes to the details and rule keeping of a game. Now, competitive players would argue that's the experience, that's the joy of competitive gaming. It's the grind of losing games. It's the agony you have to go through to learn your army, to find out how to beat your opponents. That's the joy that they get. Similar to someone who likes to play video games, Souls-like games like Dark Souls. These are very punishing games, and until you learn the systems, until you learn how to play those games, it can be very frustrating. But when you do, when you master it, that reward is priceless. At least I've been told every time I play a Dark Souls game, I rage quit. But one of the joys of wargaming is there are many other aspects to enjoy it. For example, now, check out this box. This is the Battle for McCrack. This is the Warhammer 40K starter set for 4th edition, and it came out in 2004. And this is a very important box to me because when I was about 12, I, with the help of my mom, purchased and painted this entire box. And this was one of those nerd awakening moments for me. It ignited a passion and love for painting miniatures and terrain. And that is absolutely carried over for the hobby aspect for RPGs. I love painting minis, I love creating terrain, and that is not a wargaming exclusive hobby. That is a hobby that is also shared with D&D. And holy cow, being at an event like this, seeing this many painted minis, it's an amazing experience. Like, I don't think you can understand, as someone who plays RPGs, the most minis I'm gonna see is maybe a shelf or two. But here at an event like this, there are thousands of painted minis. The amount of effort that has gone into these games today is incalculable. Like, we can't quantify the time that has been put in every single miniature on every single table times by 100. It's kind of mind-boggling when I think about it. Now, another engaging aspect to both wargaming and RPGs is the lore of the world. The characters, the monsters, the dangers, the whole texture of the world is so fascinating. And for me, the Warhammer 40K, as well as the Age of Sigmar universe, is so intriguing. And one of the most intriguing aspects of this is the art that is created for their books, as well as their products. Like, some of this stuff is just mind-boggling, and it's stuff that I haven't really seen anywhere else. And that's not to discount lore for RPGs like D&D, because those also have very deep and rich lore. But that is part of the hobby that I love to engage with. And look, I know how deep this lore is. I've got shelves of RPG and wargaming books, but I gotta say, like, I love the media around this. The chapter books that you can buy. The Honor Amongst Thieves D&D movie that came out was honestly a pretty good movie, as well as the Astartes short films on YouTube. Some of the best independent animation film I've ever seen. And these stories that can only happen in these kind of settings are so appealing. I want more. I'm ravenous for more. I want to escape into these different worlds. Well, maybe not the Warhammer world, but I want to see into these worlds and see the heroes and their struggles. It's such an interesting place to be. Now, where does this leave us? Obviously, both of these games have a lot of overlap. If you enjoy the hobby aspect or the lore aspect, both of these games have a lot to offer. And if you like competitive games, well, maybe Warhammer's more your style. And if you like collaborative games, maybe RPGs like D&D are your thing. But there's something else to it. There's another aspect that I just can't put my finger on. I think you announced something special about this.
Yeah, we broke the record, the largest Warhammer 40K singles event in the state of Utah. We broke our previous record. So yeah, we're keeping this thing going and growing. So yeah,
congrats, that's huge. So what makes wargaming unique and fun? Why do people love to engage with it? Or what's one of the aspects?
So you know, like when you're like in a campaign for D&D, like anything can happen? Anything can happen here too. And maybe they're charging into the enemy tank and the enemy tank explodes and then your own guy dies because the tank exploded on your face. So like there's just constantly little things that happen that keep the story going. So it's almost like, yes, you're playing a game and there's gonna be a winner and a loser, but you're also kind of having this story unfold naturally by the way the dice roll and the way the mission rolls out.
That's a really cool way to look at it, that you and your opponent are telling a story together and you don't get to really control it. It's because of the dice. You're
basically in a Steven Spielberg movie, right? Just this big old action movie. You know, you're in Saving Private Ryan and you're both kind of doing your thing and a story unfolds. And a lot of people come to our events because they make a lot of friends. You're with these guys for 3 hours, you're playing an opponent for 3 hours, and like we said, you're creating a story or a battle scene. And it's also super immersive. You can go look at these tables, like, wow, look at these gorgeous models. Look at these cool fights where like you have this little guy fighting this giant monster. It's just so cinematic. My name is Kicker. I live here in beautiful Salt Lake City. I absolutely love it. And I work with the 3 other guys in California. And we put on events across the country, mainly from Colorado to California. But we're focused on 40K, Age of Sigmar, fantasy. We got some bolt action, some Star Wars Legion, all the little tiny miniature battlefields you can imagine. So yeah, it's fun.
So it's wargaming.
Both games offer a unique chance for storytelling. Think about it, like RPGs, absolutely, it's collaborative storytelling with everyone at the table. But even wargaming is a story told between you and your opponent. And there's so many micro stories going on. You have the story of the lone survivor who their entire squad was killed and they're the last one standing. And against all odds, they somehow stand to survive. You have the elite warriors who, using brilliance and tactics, are able to flank their opponent and absolutely devastate the squad. The sniper who waits all game patiently just to line up the killing shot against their commander. You, your opponent, and the dice tell this story. And there's so many cool stories that you'll be able to get to experience. And I think that's the magic behind both of these games.
Honestly, attending this event and editing this video has inspired me to do something I've never done before. Announcing We Geek Together is hosting an Escalation League. The idea is you're going to start off with a very small Warhammer army and then slowly build up over the weeks until you have built and painted and played with a full army force. I'm super excited. I'm actually going to use this as an excuse for me to finally play some games and enjoy the full aspect of Warhammer 40k. Big thanks to Green Banner Events Co. for inviting us to be vendors there. What an honor. Also, big thanks to everyone who supports the channel and the store. And if you want to support us, go to our website, wegeektogether.com. You can find our merch there, as well as you can come into our stores, or you can do the things to do to this video. You know what to do if you want to support the video. Thank you.